Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Self-Published Strong podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Pearson, and I'm joined today by my husband.
Hi, I'm Nolan.
And if you're listening to this podcast for the first time, we give motivational tips and quotes we give motivational quotes and tips on self-publishing and marketing. And we also like to talk about movies and how they apply to writers, specifically bad movies, good movies. Actually, most of the movies we've done so far have been good movies. We need to add some bad movies.
Okay, sounds good.
Skyline, Jurassic World 3, 2 are like the only bad ones we've done.
Hey, I'm all for watching bad movies.
Yes. Our scheduled... Oh, we are going to do So Undercover by... I think we ought to. Miley Cyrus. So I've got really bad morning sickness, and Nolan had to go to bed really early, and I was super bored, and I couldn't concentrate, couldn't do anything, so I decided to look for movies. And Netflix does not have... It's not easy to search for movies on Netflix.
They want you to watch what they want you to watch. Yeah,
they'll give you their featured ones. And I did a search for romance and chick flicks, and I was like, So Undercover. I'm in the mood for a 1-star movie. And it's a 1-star review, or 1-star movie.
I'm surprised. I expected it to be higher. Not because I don't think it's 1-star, but because I think people have poor taste.
It might actually be 2-star or even 3 because it's Miley Cyrus, but it's a 1-star movie to me. I wasn't giving the actual...
I see.
I was saying it is a 1-star movie. Anyway, so our schedule for the next few weeks includes Finding Forrester, Strictly Ballroom, So Undercover. I really don't know. I mean, we need to discuss what other movies we want to do. I know we need to do The Last Jedi just because we have strong feelings on it. And... what was the other movie? Pacific Rim 2 or whatever. Those movies, yeah, we need to do some of those. So anyway, all right. So if you want to go ahead and give us the quote for today, Sir Nolan.
Okay. Execution. It's what successful entrepreneurs do consistently to create results others only hope for. Shawn Manaher.
Yep, that's Shawn. He's the owner of Reading Dills, and I like that. That's a good one. How come you picked it?
Because I told you a couple days ago, it was a different quote, but it was the same idea. People get hung up on the work.
And then don't do anything?
Yeah, they're like, I work harder than anyone. Well, who cares? It's not about just working hard. It's about finishing projects. Your goal should be, like some people's goals, like, I write every day. Mm-hmm. So what? You can write every day and never finish a book.
It's true, yeah.
Your goal is to finish writing stories, whether they be novellas or novels or whatever.
Or to finish a whole marketing plan.
Your job is to finish.
Yeah.
Is to have a plan and finish it, to have a product, to have a project completed.
Yeah.
Not just to work hard. So people are like, I'm working so hard.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Agreed. I like that. And execution, I like the word execution.
Yeah, lots of people like do world building forever, or they start and stop different projects because they start a project and they can realize that they're better before they're even done with it, which is true, especially when you're starting out. Your second novel is probably going to be way better than your first one.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just finish the first one.
Yeah, no kidding.
Even if you never publish it, actually finish.
Yeah.
You'll learn a lot from finishing a project.
Yeah, actually, that's the only way you can improve as a writer. Working on the same book over and over does not improve your writing.
Stick the ending, go through the process of editing. Actually do it, even if you know it's not good enough to publish.
Yeah. And we're actually going to be talking about editing and editors for the next several episodes. Before I get into that, though, talking about sticking through a project reminded me that we need to give an update on how the promotion went last week on the Shade Amulet. It went really well. We had some major royalty days throughout that.
What was the goal you had for downloads?
7,000.
And we got?
We got 8,000 in the first 2 days.
There you go.
Yeah.
And the promotion was supposed to last a week, was it?
It was 5 days.
5 days.
So the Kindle Unlimited 5 days.
So, well in excess.
Yeah, it went really well, and it was some of our biggest royalty days, especially for the summer, you know?
Summer, yes.
Yeah, so it was pretty exciting. So
it was like not summer again.
Yeah. So those of you who are still poo-poo on free books, I make most of my money when I do free books, the first book in a series for free, and then everybody, of course, 8,000 readers aren't going to read those books and then go on to the rest of the series, but the ones who do make it worth it, and we made the money back, so...
Yeah, people are like, they're like, oh no, I gave away 8,000 free books, and they do the tally in their head about how much money that would be if they'd sold them. They were never going to buy. Yeah. People that download free books, there are people that do nothing but download free books.
Yeah.
ignore them.
And there are people who will not try a new author or a familiar author's new series unless you give that first book for free.
Yeah.
Which is not, I hate that, but it works. So
yeah, no, I mean, there's a reason why supermarkets have people stand.
The little stand like Costco, the samples
in the aisles and give samples away. And
I'm
they have
really
like a
hungry.
giant. I am too. A giant stack of boxes of stuff.
Yeah.
To give away.
Mm-hmm.
Or advertisers.
It's a lot of money they put out front,
yeah,
up
they
front.
Do. You have to front some money. But it's not money for you. I mean, it's time and effort, and I mean, to get it ready, it can cost money. But whether you give away 1,000 or 10,000 costs you nothing. Costs Amazon money.
Yeah.
So let Amazon.
Well, you have to pay for the promotions.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, just downloading free books.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Doesn't cost you anything but you're telling like what's 8,000 times.
You're not gonna be losing money.
You're not losing money. You people look at it like they lost that much money.
Yeah, and even if you don't make it back within the promotion itself, which we did, it takes time for people to read a book, and if your book cover is amazing and they don't read it right away, it'll catch their attention better later on, and so they'll actually feel like reading it later.
Mm-hmm.
So
make sure your covers are good.
Yeah, make sure your covers are good. And
if you wind up in somebody's stack of free books to read, be the one that looks the best.
Yeah, and the read through doesn't always happen right away, so you have to have a little bit of patience. And that's actually a discussion that we had on the BookBub Promotions and More group, where one of the authors was.
Which you should join.
Yeah, go ahead and join it. I mean, no wait, yeah. Oh my goodness, you guys seriously should be joining this group. It's amazing. Anyway, I did not engage in an argument, but I was very tempted to do so. But as the owner of the group, I was like, it probably would not be. Anyway, one of the authors was like, I think that it's more important to make money now than to make sales later. And this author's been around the block for quite a while. And so I was like, the fact that she hasn't learned the importance of a sell later versus a sell now kind of surprises me, because a sell later, if you win a fan now, they'll buy all of your books later. And so she won't ever do free promotions. She won't do free BookBub anything, because she doesn't want to risk the chance of having a whole lot of free downloads and then not making her money back. She wants to make her money back right now. And so I'm like, well, you'll never, I know that there are some authors like Diane Capri, who writes the Jack Reacher spinoff series. She's fantastic. She very, very, very rarely does free downloads, and she does really well. But the majority of authors are not, I don't know how to say it. They're not big enough or visible enough, or even in some cases good enough to not be discovered, unless they give some books away for free. And so it's not my battle to fight and not my battle to win, but I'm just going to tell you all, when I have a free BookBub promotion, I make much more money, a lot more money than the same authors who have, the same genre, who do a 99-cent promotion. So don't be afraid to give away books.
By the tens of thousands if you can. Especially if you have a whole series already.
Yeah.
If you're just giving away your one book and you have nothing after it, don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just sit on it until you have a series done. Mm-hmm. Then promote the heck out of the first book.
Yeah, seriously. And
you should be like talking of like however you can about the book that you have. I mean, you do need people to download it. You do need reviews.
Yeah.
And as I've said previously, the best way to promote your first book is to write the second book. Mm-hmm. That is true.
Yes.
And the best way to promote your series is to have a really big promotion on your first book when you have a series. And it can be free because you'll make money on the rest of the series.
Yeah. Yeah, the Shade Amulet was never free. It's been on Kindle Unlimited since December. December 11th is when I published it. And this is the first time it's been below $2.99. And the first three books, the fourth book just got released, and the fourth book is $4.99. And I did promotions on the other two, just small promotions. And I feel very strongly about not discounting a book until it's been released for a long time, because you want to train your readers to download at full price and not punish the ones who do download at full price.
Yeah, if they download it first day full price and then like a couple of months or weeks later you discount it, then you're a jerk.
Yeah, exactly.
Then they know to wait and not buy right away.
Exactly, or they just get burned out, or they get burned, period, and they don't buy from you anymore.
I mean, you want to find fans that buy your books for whatever price you set them at, as long as it's reasonable.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
And you get new fans that are, and hopefully hook them with free books when you can, judiciously.
Yeah.
And carefully, because like a promotion is not just like I have an advertisement; it's a set of things that you are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go on to the I always forget the difference between the quote and the tip. Yes, the tip now. I'm like the quote. No, we just did the quote. My recommendation is to hire a professional editor. And a professional editor is not your English teacher from college. It's not your English teacher from high school or junior high. They do edit and they're good at it. But the difference between the best English teacher I had in college versus my current editor is huge. Because your current editor, it's like it's their career, you know, their career's on the line. If they don't give a good edit, then they don't get hired again. And that's not the same thing with a school teacher, whether in college or wherever. And so there's a big difference between a volunteer reader and a paid professional. My editors taught me a lot of things about grammar and writing. And even when I know a rule, she's able to catch things. And she's like, Andrea, you know this one, you know. She doesn't do that. She doesn't like chastise me or anything like that. Though I do feel like emailing her and being like, I do know that rule. I do. But she catches things that have slipped by. And like I'm super embarrassed. But it's better to have her catch things than to have a reader catch something. And so over the next few episodes, we're going to talk about finding editors, and then we'll give you an idea on how much you should expect to pay them, and self-editing, things like that. So it's going to be fun. I actually love talking about this sort of thing. And we're going to go into the movie right now, and which is 10 Things I Hate About You. But before we do that, we had a discussion with Josh, our audiovisual guy, and Nolan and all that. And basically with how complicated our lives are right now with me being pregnant and everything that's going on with the Flip House, all of that stuff, we're going to simplify how we talk about movies. And so instead of doing 3 takeaways, we're going to do 2 takeaways. And then our goal is to make it so that we give you the feedback on these movies in a more succinct way, which we'll see how that goes today, just because we're both, once we get discussing, we really get discussing. But we're not going to always give the same points every single time. Like, I don't think we need to talk about characters and character development every single time. We can give a brief setup of the movie and then talk about the things that stood out to us the most. Sound good? I'm not asking the listeners. I was asking Nolan, and he nodded, even though I've already talked to him about this, so I didn't need to ask him. All right. Okay. So Nolan, give us a brief setup of this show.
The Taming of the Shrew.
Yeah, pretty much. Which is one of my favorite. Which is a good... Shatner. Shakespeare. William Shatner. He's so good.
It is a bit of a farce. I mean, it's comedy. It's a comedy.
Yeah.
Farces, and not in the insulting term, but in the literal sense of it is a farce.
Yep, exactly.
Which is good. I mean, it's not like super complex, not really heavy emotionally. It's supposed to be light and fun.
Which, by the way, according to the trivia, it wasn't. The first write of it, they talked about suicide all the time.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
I'm really glad that they changed it, because this was a fun movie, and that wouldn't have been.
There's, quirky teenage awkwardness humor and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Dating humor.
Yeah.
Dad humor.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for him now that I'm a parent.
Yeah. So there is a lot of focus on the comedy between, the kind of absurdity of teenageness.
Yeah.
And teenage datingness.
Okay, so briefly, for those who don't know what The Taming of the Shrew is, it's basically about a witch, basically a shrew, and her sister, who is attractive, and her sister wants to date, but I'm not doing the Shakespeare version, I'm doing this for this, so the setup for this movie. The sister wants to date, but her dad says she can't date until her older sister dates, until Kat dates. And so Bianca tells the guy, she's like,
Who's the younger sister?
Yeah, Bianca's younger sister. She's like, I can't date anybody unless my sister goes out. And so Cameron, who is Bianca's technical love interest, decides to set up a ploy to get Kat to date. And hilarity ensues. It's great.
Right. Because Kat is the shrew, the horrible one. And so he has to find someone
who's willing to go out with her.
Equally horrible to go out with her.
Which, as we find out, he's not equally horrible. He's just misunderstood and he doesn't care.
Right, yeah. Exactly. I mean, all of these people aren't really bad. Like, she has a reason for being the way she is. Yeah. It's because she's a weak person and gave in to peer pressure.
Gave in to Joey, who is the guy who's chasing her sister. So basically, Cameron wants to date Bianca, And in order to have that happen, they decide to get Joey, the model, the super attractive guy, to pay, what's his name? Heath Ledger's character, yes, Patrick, to pay Patrick to date Kat. Right. And so that ends up causing problems because Cameron...
Because now Bianca's in a love triangle.
Yeah, with Cameron and with Joey. And they both are going for the same goal, to get Kat to date.
Correct. And then there's the conflict, just a linear conflict between Patrick and Kat.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so Nolan, what would you say the inciting incident was?
Bianca can't date until Kat does.
And I thought it was Cameron meeting Bianca.
I suppose that's true.
It's kind of like a double.
I mean, that sets it in motion, but so why does Kat even...
Yeah, that's true, actually. No, because Cameron meeting Bianca is not what gets the dad to change his mind.
That's true.
And that's what lets them... That's what sets the story. So the dad making...
That has to happen first, because Cameron doesn't do his thing until he knows that it's a possibility.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say the inciting incident is when the dad... What did you say it was? Bianca can't date unless... Yeah, so basically. So dang it, you win.
Sorry.
All right, so you want to talk about character development really fast?
I mean, it's the biggest thing, right? Shrew
to not
a shrew.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's so comically caustic.
She's frigid bee.
Yeah.
is what Miss Perky calls her.
Yes. I was heinous.
Heinous bee.
Yes. And then she becomes not. So, I mean, it's like a huge deal. Yeah. And then Patrick is, like the scary rebel guy who drills holes in people's French language books.
Yes.
And that sort of thing. And he turns out he's like, I don't want to say has reasons, but he's the way he is for reasons that are his, that aren't
Which
terrible.
don't even matter, because once you get to know him and know that he did not sell his liver on the black market, and he did not spend a year in prison, that
right, yeah,
he's not as bad as...
He was taking care of his grandpa,
yeah.
And so he sat on the couch watching TV and helped his grandpa for a year.
Yes.
And his accent's for real.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, because he's got a slight Australian accent.
They realized that they couldn't get rid of his accent.
Which I actually like, yeah, because he couldn't get rid of his Australian accent. He 90% does, but not 100%. Yeah. So people make fun of him about it a bit, and he's like, no, it's for real.
Yeah, they decided to put that in as part of the
plot. To leave
it in,
which is fine, then rather than people having awful American accents.
Yes.
And then
everybody
Pacific Rim, looking at you, buddy.
Jeez.
Well.
Raleigh.
And then just not. Yeah, if they can't do it, then... say why.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everyone's going to notice, and if you don't have a plausible excuse, then it's just painful.
Yeah. Okay, so Kat does have a huge transfer, and the thing is, they actually successfully show her gradually. It's not as sudden, which is where books usually fail with character development. If you've got a huge point to another huge point, you've got to do a gradual
I mean, it
process.
is the point of the movie.
Yeah,
they spend the whole movie. Well, 80% of it is her. Finding out why she's that way.
Yeah.
It is a good reason. Yep. Maybe not really to me, but...
I think it's a good reason. Being a girl.
I thought she was weak and gave in to peer pressure, so because she was weak, she had to take it out on everyone else.
No. I think it's because he took advantage of her.
He did take advantage of her. Of course, yeah, I mean, he certainly did, but she was able to be taken advantage of.
She's young. She was a freshman.
You're like
no
the same
excuse.
age. Yeah, they're like the same age.
I'm sorry. I'm on the girl's side.
It wasn't like her teacher or something, or
I don't know. Guys have a lot of control over girls at that age.
Vice versa.
Yeah, it's true, but it's a lot easier for a guy to get his way with a girl than it is for a girl to get her way with a guy.
And then she was bitter and blamed everyone else but him for it. I mean, if she took it out on him,
she did though. I mean, they're the ones that were sniping, and they were at each other all the time in the dude's class.
Oh, absolutely. I got.
Yeah.
But, her dad didn't necessarily deserve
She's also, her mom did leave 3 years earlier, around the same time. So, I mean, she's just a bratty teenager.
She's a bratty teenager, yeah.
With an attitude problem. So it's going to go on everybody.
It is. And, yeah, I know. But, I'm just saying they don't necessarily deserve to be...
No.
The object of her ire. And when she does ram, what's-his-face's pretty boy's car.
Yes, that was funny.
It does totally make sense, why she's so irrationally... Mm-hmm. Because you're well...
Oops! My insurance does not cover PMS!
Yes. Exactly. That it seems disproportionate to him, but not later.
Yeah.
Because she does hate everyone, but especially him.
Yeah, and she especially hates that Bianca wants to date him, and that he's trying to date her.
And then she won't tell her why until later, until it's the penultimate.
Yes.
Right before she actually does go out with him, and she's like, oh wait, I want to go out with the nice guy after all in the love triangle.
Yeah.
And so she chooses the nice guy in the love triangle.
Which, I mean, that I don't feel like they did a really good job of showing her choosing him.
It's like, well, I guess you expressed, and you're the only other one to express interest.
I'm like, why? I mean,
if she were such a hot commodity with the beer flavored nipples, as Patrick says.
Oh yes.
Why is everybody into Bianca so much? Has she got beer flavored nipples or something?
Oh jeez.
One of the best lines from the movie.
Oh, was it?
Absolutely, it was. Where was I even going with this? It's just basically there would be plenty of other guys that would be interested, that would be more appealing than Cameron. No offense, Cameron.
Yeah, he's cute. He's not the rugged cute. He's just
relative to the two.
Yeah.
There's got to be something in between.
Yeah.
An earnest, nerdy guy and the
school's
stuck-up jock male
prep.
model.
He's more prep than jock.
Oh, yeah. Male model, pretty boy.
Male model, pretty boy.
There is a spectrum that they ignored. But obviously, in real life, it'd be like, hey, Cameron's like, I finally got your sister to date. And then she's like, oh, that's great. I'm going to go with this guy over here who's not a jerk to me, but is also not you.
Yeah.
That's what would really happen.
Yeah.
Maybe you'd get a pity date or two, and maybe an outside the brow grope. You'd probably cut that. And that's about it. And then she would move on. Yeah,
pretty much. So that was my complaint about that. I was like, well, I don't feel like because when she finally chooses him, I still feel like she's slightly using him.
Yeah, it's like he would just happen to be standing there at the time.
Yeah.
Literally, he's moping in the corner. And
so here's the thing. Okay, so we see, when you're writing a book where one character goes from point A to point Z, like Kat does, so that huge. And then you've got these other characters, like with Bianca going from Joey to Cameron, you need to show why she chooses the other guy. Not just because the one guy's a jerk, but, there's got to be legitimate reasons.
Yeah, there really isn't any reason for her to go to him other than he's interested.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I thought it was funny. A couple of the lines that I really liked. Kat was like, I thought you smoked, and Patrick's like, I quit. Found out they're bad for you. Like, really? Since the 60s or 70s or whenever they started.
Yeah, Patrick's awesome.
He's fantastic. He's my favorite character in the whole show, above everybody else, I think. And then Bianca's like, it's just a party. And Kat's like, and hell is just a sauna. Anyway, I liked that.
Oh, and her dad.
And her dad. Her dad was awesome. He's fantastic. He's like the only I have a hard time understanding why some people want to be gynecologists. And him, he does not creep me out. He's like, you know what I had to do today? Help a 15-year-old give birth to twins. And you know what she said to me? I wish I'd listened to my dad. No, she didn't. She would have.
If she weren't so doped up.
He's so awesome. He makes like Bianca wear a pregnancy, stomach thingy.
Yes.
Girder, whatever.
Yeah.
He's awesome. The way he takes it out on his daughters is great too.
Having worked in a hospital and seen my share of 15-year-old pregnant girls.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I have too. Mm-hmm. Not make choices that are different, perhaps. Not gonna preach. Just saying. It'll crimp your style.
It's something that I thought was noteworthy in this movie. Nolan, when the movie very first started, said, "Oh my gosh, the clothes! I forgot how bad the 90s were."
When was this movie made?
In the 90s?
Yeah, so...
It was like 97 or something.
I'm going to skip to the end. One of my two takeaways is...
you're doing your takeaways?
Is so very 90s.
Oh, jeez. So how's that your takeaway?
Well, we talked about Dragon Rise of Pern and how dated it felt.
Oh, yes.
So books can feel dated.
Yeah, they can.
And some can feel timeless. Mm-hmm. So this movie is very...
very, very dated.
I would say it's still... People still talk about it, at least my coworkers.
I'd never even seen it until like this last year, but I've heard people talk about it constantly since high school. I just never watched it in high school. It didn't even occur to me.
If you went to high school in the 90s, and I did...
Yeah, me too.
This is one of the cultural touchstones.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So... And it is so very 90s, and it looks that way. Even when they're wearing like polos, they look like 90s polos. I don't know why. Like they shouldn't change that much, but they do.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's, yeah. And I don't know. There's some stories that you just can't help. I mean, they're going to be dated, you know. There's
Or even styles. I mean, you know, not just the plot itself, but the style.
Yeah.
Or choice.
Like, you can't write a story in modern times and have a character who has no cell phone and who has no technology. You know, so the stories that are based on them being unable to get a hold of somebody. So, like, Wait Until Dark.
Yeah, you have to take into account. It's impossible. It's almost impossible to do.
Yeah, you can't. People are almost always connected. And a battery dying is a really, really cliched reason. Or getting out of service. I mean, unless there's something... What?
Or, yeah, spontaneous droppings of things.
Yes.
Like Jurassic Park, Jurassic World looking at you.
Yes.
Where they only happen...
Yeah, when connection only happens when something is...
They should have brought connectivity issues up earlier.
Right in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you've got somebody who's on the run, like I would believe Jack Bauer, his phone dying. I would believe him, you know, because he doesn't have time to charge his phone.
Right.
So you've got to have a reason why somebody won't have had time to charge. Or maybe they left their apartment and they were in such a hurry that they did not grab their phone and that they think about it immediately, but they can't do anything about it. And so, I mean, you've got to find ways around modern connectivity and modern technology if you want your story to not have a cell phone, you know? So there's another takeaway. Actually, I think I'm ready for trivia. Are you ready for trivia?
Yes.
Okay. 10 things. Okay, so the 10 Things I Hate About You poem, there was only one take, and the tears were not planned. They were natural. So her standing up in front of people, that was not planned. The whole film was shot on location, and they used 0 sets, which is pretty awesome. That had to save them quite a bit of money. Of course, they probably had to pay the school, but not having to build a set, they didn't have to take the time, you know? This is Ledger's first American movie.
They just did it during the summer.
Oh, that's true.
It's awfully nice. Yeah. I actually went to high school pretty
close to there. Yep.
So I'm like, wow, it's awfully nice outside.
Yeah, no kidding.
By Seattle. Tacoma, but anyway.
Yeah, no, it's close enough. Tacoma's not that far.
No,
it's going to have a lot of weather similar. Yeah. It's close enough to the water where they're going to have a lot of rain. And
yep. So I was like, that doesn't look like school time. That looks like the 1.5 month period when there was no school.
Ledger and Stiles dated for a year after the movie, which I'm like, that's cool. They were actually, you know, the attraction was real, which is awesome.
They spent a lot of time together, so.
Yeah. And you're going to think you're going to be like, what? Stiles auditioned for the role of Bianca. I like Julia Stiles. Okay, my point about this, none of the actors in this movie are drop dead gorgeous. I'm not attracted to any of them. I think Heath Ledger is attractive, but I'm not attracted to him. And so one thing I like about this movie is they use people who look like they could be high school students. You know, Julia Stiles is not a 10 on a scale of 10, but she'd be a high school student, you know? And her sister is also not a 10 on a scale of 10. Nolan was like, when the guy was like, I burn, I perish, I pine, or whatever.
I'm like, why?
She's like, average.
I know. I was like, this is pretty typical. I don't know why.
But so is he, you know.
No, I know. Yeah, I know. But I mean, if you're going to, like, I don't know, there's the untouchable, distant, attractive girl, and she's not that. She's just rando girl, and you're not French class.
And see, and I totally liked that.
It's fine, I guess. I don't know. I just didn't get it. I was like, her friend was cuter to me, so whatever.
Nolan always talks about how the minority friend is the cutest one in all the movies.
Teenage movies, at least during this time period, have a minority friend who is probably more attractive and compelling than the main character. So,
like, She's the Man, and this one. Let's see, what else was there? We've actually
Step Up.
Step Up. We've commented on it several times.
Yeah, I'm like,
not in the podcast, just when we're watching movies.
Step Up 1 and 2.
Yeah, actually, and probably 3.
I don't remember, but yeah, I was just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, how's she doing over there? How you doing, girl?
Moving on. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm hitting on imaginary women right now.
Yes. Save the Dance. Okay, so Julia Stiles' audition for the movie Save the Dance was her dancing on the table in this movie. They didn't actually make her audition. They're like, she's the one.
Yeah.
I didn't really like the movie Save the Dance. I love like step up and dance movies,
I've never seen it.
I should make you watch it and see what you think. I don't think Nolan likes that idea. I'm still going to make you watch it. Let's see. It was filmed in Tacoma, Washington. We already said that. And then the final bit of trivia is very applicable to our listeners. Miss Perky. They decided to make her a romance writer to explain why she was such a horrible guidance counselor. Isn't that awful? Well, this is back in the 90s, so romance writers were not respected back then. They are now, quite a bit, actually. They make a lot of money.
She wasn't writing romance, was she?
Yeah, she was. It's smut, but it's romance.
Erotica.
Yeah. Not even erotica. No, that's like a straight up romance.
Okay. This is why I don't.
You haven't heard. I haven't either, but I do know the levels.
Okay.
If she'd been talking about like whipping and stuff like that, then maybe more erotica. But no, regular romances. That's pretty common for a regular romance. Nolan, you don't look like you want to start reading regular romances.
No.
No?
No.
You don't want to read about creamy white thighs? Like...
Well, I do, but I mean...
Whatever. He's grinning at me now.
Tan ones are good, too.
Oh, gosh. That's one of the lines. Our first introduction to her is we see her name, Miss Perky, and then we see the line she's writing in her laptop, and it's creamy white thighs. And then is it Heath Ledger comes in first? Yes, it's amazing. I'm not gonna, because it's slightly inappropriate for the podcast, but it's funny. A bratwurst is mentioned.
Yes.
Anyway, okay, so let's go ahead and give the last of the takeaways. Go ahead and give your second takeaway or first takeaway or whatever it was.
Okay, hold on. Oh, yeah. This is a good example of a character going through a very big change and why they go through the change.
Yeah.
You don't normally concentrate this much time on a character's arc, but it happens to be the point of the movie. So this is a very good example of the A to Z.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, she still does have a lot of added. I mean, she's not.
She is her personality.
It is her personality. Yeah. So I mean, she's not a different person. She's a person...
Which would have been awful for the story. I mean, if they had actually changed it.
She overcame something. She fessed up to a mistake she made. She helped her sister, who she used to resent more. And, she reconciles with that, with her father, with Patrick.
Yep.
I mean, it all happens.
Yeah, but that's a good point because she doesn't become a different person completely.
No, she becomes a better, completed version of herself. She moves past it. It's not like the thing that happened to her is erased and she went back to who she was before. Yeah. She went on to be somebody else who's better than who she was before or during her issues.
Yeah, exactly.
So very good.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, my takeaways. I don't know which one to give first, so I'll just go in order. Don't overthink or overcomplicate things. So dialogue needs to feel natural, but if you think too hard on it and you're like trying to make it perfect, it'll actually feel overthought, overcomplicated.
Dialogue is very hard in books.
It is.
Not very many authors are very good at dialogue, honestly, and it's very hard to write a witty character.
Yeah.
If you are not.
Yeah,
and
so...
many fail.
So the example I was thinking of when I was writing that was when Bianca's like, you suck, and Kat's like, you suck. And I'm like, that's not witty dialogue.
No.
But it is true to teenagers.
Yes.
And so I was like, don't overthink it. Like, you want it to feel natural, and that felt natural for two teenage sisters, Okay, my next takeaway is don't hesitate to borrow from the classics. And like this movie, it's not made obvious. I mean, there's like one Shakespeare thing, but teenagers, I doubt most teenagers that watched this movie at that time knew it was The Taming of the Shrew. Same with Clueless. I doubt most teenagers know that that's a retelling of Emma, which is a Jane Austen movie. And so I think that's a great, like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, Take a story that you really like from a classic and make your own spin, put your own spin on it. I would say that this movie has enough originality in it to feel like an almost completely different story over Taming of the Shrew, I mean, nobody gets dragged off to some castle.
No. I mean, it's very base premises, but that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a little bit of the setup, but then it goes on its own.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's it for this episode. Nolan's parents flew in today. His mom gets to have surgery this week for her poor heart. And we are going camping on Friday. I'm pretty excited about that. First time with kids. Not as excited about that part, but it'll be fun. Our 5-year-old is dying with excitement, though she did ask Dad, Nolan, she asked him if we were going to live from camping.
And I said, I hope so.
No, you said, I certainly hope so.
I certainly hope so.
Yep. Anyway, so if you have any questions for me, go ahead and send me an email at andrea@selfpublishedstrong.com. And Nolan, do you have any closing thoughts or comments or anything?
No.
No.
I'm really tired. Which, I mean, there's no real... I'm just tired. I don't know what else.
He has been doing a whole lot of artwork lately, though. He's been dipping his toes back into things. Now that we're not spending as much time up in that house that we were flipping, we've had a little bit of extra free time that we didn't have before. And so he's been napping and doing artwork.
Like an old man. I'm trying to recover from the apocalypse.
Yes.
Before.
Yep. All right. Okay. So my voice cracks. I'm a teenager again.
Oh, you're just laden with emotions.
Emotions and hormones. I am pregnant.
Hormones. That's true.
Anyway. All right. We'll talk to everybody later. Bye.
Bye.